2025 is of special significance for the European Space Agency as the year marks the 50th anniversary of its founding. 2025 is also significant as there are a number of important missions lined up for this year. And ESA's Ministerial Council will be held this November. To talk more about these subjects, I am now joined by the Director General of the European Space Agency, Josef Aschbacher. Thank you very much for your time. Can you give us a brief overview of the 50 years of the European Space Agency?
50 years of European Space Agency has been really 50 years of successes. We have an enormous amount of satellites, rockets that we have been developing and launching over this decade. Let me just highlight a few of them because they have been some of our hallmark successes. Take Rosetta. Rosetta is a mission where for the very first time a human-made object, that means a small lander, a small satellite, was detached from the Rosetta spacecraft. The Philae lander was landing on a comet and then measuring the surrounding of the comet. This was in 2014. It made headlines everywhere and was one of the big achievements. Of course, we are having programs developed over the last 20-25 years that are changing our economy and our understanding of our planet. Take climate change as one element that we know how it works and how severe the changes on our planet are, thanks to Copernicus, thanks to observations from space. It is fair to say without those satellites that we have built, and Europe has built many of those and who provide enormously important measurements, we would not understand the extent of climate change. So yes, we help, or our data help to study the Earth system, climate change, help in the prediction of models on how climate change will develop in the future. It's probably not good news that comes out of it, but at least we understand what happens. But also for the economy. We have been developing satellites that drive agriculture, that drive forestry or ship routing or air traffic or many other domains where satellite data are being used for that. The other example is navigation. We have, with Galileo, the most accurate navigation system in the world, which delivers every single minute or second navigation positions for car industry, for mobile phones. If you go from one place to another, you need navigation. We have developed over the last decades Galileo, and this year we have another anniversary. We have 30 years of Galileo, which coincides with 50 years of ESA. So ESA has really developed a lot. Our rockets, of course, Ariane 6 is being the sixth one in a row. The Vega rocket, Vega C being now the second one of the Vega family, but also many other domains. We have astronauts that we are flying, but also in general, I really think that ESA is a good example of a very successful space agency that delivers products. But what makes me also proud is that the projects and the programs in which we are working, we're doing many of them with international partners. We have very strong partnerships with the US, with Japan, with India, with the UAE, with Australia, and many other countries. And this is something that is good because the partners want to work with us with something interesting to offer. And also for us, it's extremely important to make sure that we together address some of the challenges that we face, from climate to telecom to navigation to astronaut to exploration to space science and so on. So we have a lot to offer, and it's something where I know that the politicians are appreciating the track record of ESA over the last 50 years.
Can you tell us about ESA's vision for the future?
First of all, we would like to make sure that space is becoming an integral part of people's everyday life. It already happens. I mentioned Galileo and I mentioned Earth observation, but it happens more and more. Sometimes I say, today we are using the internet every second for all kind of applications and all kind of purposes. If you would have asked people 20 years ago whether internet is important, 20 years ago people would have said, yes, sounds interesting, it's a toy and it's something for some technical people to play with. But 20 years ago, the dimension of what the internet today is representing was not estimated. And I think space is in a similar situation. Space today already has many applications and is already widely used, but in 20 years from today, you cannot live without space technology for many reasons, for communication, secure communication, for security, for defense, for economic development, even pharmaceutical industry, agriculture, and many other companies that today do not use space technology will be depending on space technology. So for me, space technology becomes the fabric of technology in the future, like internet is the fabric of society today.
What is the significance of this year's ESA's Ministerial Council?
We have these Ministerial Council every 3 years, so it's a milestone where we develop programs with our member states, we put them on the table, and they're being funded. And the interesting part of these ministerial is, and not everyone knows that, is that we are making a proposal and a member state can decide how much money they put in. They're not obliged to fund programs, but they can put 0%, 10%, 20% or 50% into a program. And this is for me, of course, a challenge because I cannot just rely on the contribution of a member state depending on its size or on its economy. But I have to make proposals that are very attractive, that member states want to participate and want to put money in, otherwise I'm not succeeding. So this is a big challenge of our ministerial. So we will have, of course, a very complete program of space activities, all the way from exploration, astronaut flights, participation on the space station, moon, Mars activities, the universe, that means the solar system and the outer universe. We will have missions looking at that, but also our own planet, Earth observation, navigation, telecommunication, technology development, rockets. So there's a lot of things that we are funding. It's a very wide spectrum. We actually have all the dimensions of space technologies as part of the ministerial. And yes, the question will be how much we can attract the member state contributions because they need it for their daily life, for their society, for their economy, for the security of their country.
And finally, what are the missions lined up for this year?
We have more than 10 missions planned to launch. There are Sentinel missions of Copernicus, there are Galileo missions to be launched. We have Biomass, which is an Earth Explorer mission to look at the biomass globally, how much forest there is in the tropical domains and how much biomass they are creating all together. We are looking at some very smart but smaller missions based on micro satellites, CubeSats, where we put artificial intelligence on board of these satellites in order to study automatically with AI on board some of the features on the ground. We will certainly work on resilience, on further using space technology for security, resilience, crisis protection of all kinds. So yes, there's a lot of those missions or those satellites that are being developed and being launched.